Welcome back to this episode of Paint Society. In this episode, we're going to show you how to set up your clear coat gun and spray clear, but we're going to be working on this beautiful blue MDX. The paint code is called B621P Apex Blue Pearl. A lot of you guys are going to love this color. We're doing the rear bumper blend, and then we're going to be doing a blend into the quarter panel. Now, we're first going to be going with a sealer coat. You can see a little burn through where we did a little bit of our black primer work. Now, one thing I can't stand is a hose that is completely tangled up. I don't know how painters can paint around a car with a tangled up hose. So I always like to spend a little extra time, unwind the whole entire hose and get it all nice and linear and orderly. That way I don't have any sort of issues when I'm going around the car. Now, next up, what I'm going to do to get that nice, clean, glossy paint job is I need to run my tack rag over the whole entire surface. I'm using my tack rag, and then we're going to be using the Ion Star. Now, a lot of guys are asking, is it worth it? Guys, I still get dirt from time to time, even when using it. But if this is going to help me remove at least a few pieces of dirt, it's well worth it. Once we got everything all tacked off and blown off, we're going to be using our sealer coat. Now, watch how I take my sealer coat with my paint gun and I turn it sideways. I want to really eliminate the overspray of the sealer. So we've only done one sealer coat in that area, and we're taking the same exact sealer and we're putting it where the bumper meets the quarter. I have been burned before by not sealing the same undercoat on adjacent panels that match up. Now we're using a blending additive. This is not the blending melt away additive. This is blending additive clear base. It's going to go over that edge of the sealer and smooth it out, as well as go over all of the sand, a clear coat, and give it a nice even playing field. It's going to go into that 800 grit scratch. It's going to go into it and smooth it out, so when the metallic of this blue paint lays on it, it's going to lay flat, nice and smooth, and you get overall just a better looking paint job. It's one little extra step that goes a long way, so make sure you're doing it on all of your scuffed clear coat. Now, once that's done, about 10 minutes later, we're using the same exact gun, guys. We're using a 3M PPS cup. We just cleaned it out, we give it one coat, and we walk away. You can see that the color is a lot darker here. It's going to take a good 3 coats to get that perfect coverage. And if I'm putting blue over gray or a lighter color, I find it never really gets the true color. Now, we have a little small dust nib here and there, and we're going to be using a K1000 from Eagle Abrasives, and it's totally fine to sand, go back and sand any little dirt nib that you have, because otherwise it's just going to be in your clear coat. Once you get it nice and scuffed and cleaned up, then you can go and give it a nice tack, give it an Ion Star blow over, and then we can put on our second coat of base. Notice how we're blending. We're only doing this area. We're not taking it any further. We're not going towards the gas lid door. We're just keeping our coverage in the area of where our sealer was. We know that the rest of the actual panels are completely covered in base. We're not entertaining putting any base over there. It only really needs clear coat. Now, from this point, we can see it's really covered, and we probably would have been fine here, but I like to teach a method that you can all use. That is coverage plus one coat. Coverage plus one coat is going to ensure that you've got enough coverage and it's all going to look nice and uniform. So we're going to do one more coat, and we're slightly going to blend it out a little bit here. Now we're around 22 PSI on this 3M Performance spray gun, and that's all we need. We like to spray it nice and wet. We're using a slow reducer. It's a little bit cooler today, but in a temperature controlled environment, we're running it around 80 degrees in the booth. Since it's cooler, we can knock down the heat and bring it to about 80 degrees. Now, at this point, your clear coat is not going to look good unless you have a smooth base coat. So that's what we're doing. A lot of folks don't understand how important it is to get your base smooth. It can look good, but is it smooth? And here's how you tell. You're going to run your tack rag over it. If your tack rag is getting caught up, or if it's gritty, or if it has a whole bunch of overspray on it, then you're going to have a trouble with your clear laying and trying to bridge over that dry base coat and trying to smooth it out. You're going to have to end up putting on more coats than you want. And in the end, the base coat's not going to look fine. It's not going to look pristine. It's going to have that muddy, yucky look to it, and you don't want that. So again, guys, just another tool to help you out in the paint booth. Now, let's get to talking about how we set up our clear coat and how we lay down our clear coat. Setting up your spray gun and laying down your clear coat go hand in hand. So I prefer the WS400 Series 2 because it really helps me get a nice smooth finish. It atomizes like no other gun. It puts a droplet on so fine and so minute that a whole bunch of small droplets come together and create a nice smooth finish. So let's take a look. I'm going to dial it in at 26 PSI. A fan, we're going to have wide open all the way to the left, and we're going to have our fluid wide open. All you got to do is turn it upside down if you have a full cup of clear. And at that point, we're going to wind it out, and then we're going to pull that trigger, and we're going to wind it in. So now the gun is operating at wide open. We should never really restrict a gun when it comes to clear coat. Here's how we restrict the gun or make the changes: with our distance and our speed. So if you feel like you've got too much clear going on and too much hitting the panel, move a little bit faster or make your distance a little bit further away from the panel. For me personally, the reason why I like using this gun and it fits me well is because I can spray around 5 to 6 inches from the panel and still atomize it. Some of those guns you gotta get a lot closer for you really hit the window of where the atomization is. But the window for the atomization with this gun is much further away, which makes it a lot easier to actually use. Yeah, and it does take a little bit of time to get used to. So this gun, when you pick it up, you're not used to how fine the atomization is, so you kind of get a little bit closer with it when you realize that you really don't need to be that close. And you can move a little bit slower with this gun, which is a little bit more of the pace of what I like. But nonetheless, you can still get great results with any clear coat gun following the same exact fluid and fan setup. Now, the PSI is going to vary from gun to gun. Everyone wants to ask Brian, what is the magic PSI? And they think that they have to dial in that PSI on their gun. And that's just not the truth, guys. Let's be honest, with the regulators, the air compressors, and the systems, your PSI is going to fluctuate. If I tell you 26 in my shop, 26 in your shop is going to be much different. But what you need to know is that if you bump it up in increments of 2 to 3 PSI, that is going to break up the clear a little bit more. Now, one thing you might notice about the way I clear, especially on bumpers that are concave or have different shapes, is I always hold the clear gun at around 45 at a cocked angle. And I feel like this just puts the clear on a little bit better on those areas that aren't perfectly straight. If you try to hit up one of these bumpers perfectly straight, you're just not going to be able to get that atomization that you want. And I've learned this through spraying many, many bumpers. On a side panel like this, for the most part, you can go just basically adjacent to the panel, but anything else that's got a little bit weird shape, I always like to cock my spray gun at a little bit of an angle, and I feel like the fan can just do a better job getting everything nice and wet. Now, I'm gonna wait about a good 10 minutes for my next coat. This is the first coat. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. You'll find a little bit of dirt here and there. There's a little piece of lint here right in the middle of this quarter panel. And the one mistake that I would make before is trying to bury that in clear. Really, you can come back later and give it a little scuff with some 2000 and polish it, and it'll be just fine. On a second coat, we'll build up a little bit of clear by doing another pass over the whole entire panel, and then now we'll put a little bit more clear behind that dirt nib. So when you go to actually sand it down, you'll have enough material and you won't have to worry. But the biggest problem is trying to bury it right in that spot and putting more clear on that spot. You're gonna get solvent pop, you're gonna get a lot of different issues. So again, clear coat comes down to the way that you spray it. The actual spray gun is going to be set up at wide open again, so it can just atomize the best possible way. And you as the painter are gonna go ahead and manipulate that spray gun the best way possible in order to get that clear finish. Now, we're not going for dead flat. I don't think that any car should be sprayed dead flat. Dead flat does not match factory peel. I actually love the way the factory peel looks on a vehicle. That's the way they come from the factory, and we are going to imitate that same finish. And matter of fact, you really can't ever get a dead flat paint job out of your clear coat. You could stack coats on, it'll look even clearer or even more brilliant or more flatter, but you'll never get that dead flat show car look unless you cut it. And you could debate me all day on that. You will not get a dead flat paint job without cutting it down. You can even flow coat it. You will still need to cut it and polish it. But that's why I love the collision world, because we're knocking them jobs out, we're putting them the way they were from the factory, and we're moving on to the next job. And then one thing I want to stress to you as a painter is that no job will ever be perfect. And there'll be no job that will ever not need a little bit of buff or a little bit of some extra attention to get it out the door. So you'll see here in the end of the video, there's a couple dirt nibs, and that's no big deal. And although we used our static gun, we've done our cleaning procedures, there will always be something that needs to be fixed. But the one thing that matters is that the clear coat is there. We don't want to be buffing orange peel. With these techniques that you can learn in this video, you can put down jobs so that all you need to really do is to buff out a couple little dirt nibs. And again, maybe your customers are not that really picky, and maybe you're not too picky as an actual painter. But working at the dealership, we have to have a certain criteria of a level of quality and QC before any job can go out. So every little dirt nib that we see will polish out, and it won't be a problem to polish out. These are just part of the job. It is a quality control before it goes back to the customer, and it's your job as a painter, if you have a high quality control at your shop, to make sure that it is eliminated, or if you have a buffer, if you're lucky enough to have a buffer at your shop, that it goes through that process. You can see here, there's a little piece of dirt right in here, and you might not think, well, that's not a big deal, and it's really not a big deal, but we try to get it as clean as possible so that every job that comes in, it can go out, we can make money, everyone can be happy, everyone makes a little bit more money when jobs don't have to go through buffing. So other than that, that's just what's going to happen at these points. Sometimes you're going to have jobs that just need a little bit more attention like this one did. Anyways, guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it, it's just paint. Enjoy these last few clips of this thing back all together.